So in this episode I take you to Port Stephens on a real live mapping job. I had 150 hectares to map of a wetlands area, and we had a little surprise a couple hours after the shoot. So for this particular jobs I use the mapping app Maps Made Easy. Disclaimer at the start, recognises the machine that I'm about to fly, and now I'm about to set and start the mission. So I'd flown 3 missions already. This is the 4th mission. Each of those points that are going place, I'm just tapping the screen and it roughly sets it out, and then I hold my finger over the little dot and I move it to the position I want. I'd already pre-organised in my mind where I wanted to do it. Now you're seeing me use the slider to set the drone at 100 metres. The reason I went to 100 metres, it's a wetlands, there's a lot of birds there, so I just wanted to stay out of their flight path. They seem to fly lower. Now what I'm doing is just organising a grid backwards and forwards. I flew the same grid for each mission, virtually in line pointing towards the ocean. Now I'm happy with the grid. It's 12 minutes, it's blue sky, so it'll last for that mission. I'm just readjusting a few things to get the mission down. See, the duration was 10 minutes, 0.1, just the app calculating it. Now on the right hand side you see me upload the mission, so it's loading up the mission. Once the mission is loaded, you'll see the path in blue. Then you hit start, and all these little screens that pop out, you can slide them in and slide them out. So now the drone's heading to its altitude of 100 metres. Once it goes to the 100 metres, it starts to look for its start point, which you can see marked in green there, and diagonally across is where back virtually where we took off from is where the finishing point is, the red dot. So we're at 70 metres. You can pull in to see what the camera's looking at any time. This is the point I took off from, a clear grassed area. So now it's at 100 metres. It's starting to look for its start point. For some reason it goes the opposite way to where the start point is. A second later, then it starts to fly. So now it's identified where the start point is, so it's heading to that green point that we saw a little bit earlier. This is the second time I've actually used this app for mapping. Once was a railway station up at Coffs Harbour, and I was really impressed with how easy it is to use. Besides, after flying these 7 missions, how reliable and accurate it was. So here it is now. It started its mission. I gather the dots behind it are just where it's taken a photo. While flying this mission, in some points, as it's going to its furthest point, it starts beeping, and I noticed the signal to the controller, as you can see up the top bar, was going up and down. I think the lowest it got to was about 60% signal, 69 there, 68. So when it started to head back, the beeping stopped as the signal went in. So I think it's got a warning system in it for weak signal between the drone and the controller. But the information you get, I've just done a screenshot from a customer there, so they actually know where the mission started and where it finished, just in case they want to use the individual photos, as well as sending it off to Maps Made Easy to map it out in a myriad of different types of maps. I actually give the customer all the images and let them set up account with Maps Made Easy, so they've got full control over whatever maps they want to use instead of going backwards and forwards to me. I'm a drone pilot and a photographer, and so I just do what I do and let them have access to everything they need. I don't know if you can see it up the top, there's a little arrow left and right in the middle of the top bar. That actually shows the controller. When you're pointing the controller, where you can see the dot in the middle, the yellow dot in the middle, that means that wherever you're facing the controller, that's where the drone is. I had it as line of sight. I had to move between the trees to see the drone and how far it was. I kept on having a little bit of look here because one of the residents of the area wanted to know how much water was in there, because it's not really an accessible wetlands. So I just now and then had a bit of a look on the screen to see what was going on. That was just touch screens. You bump things and it moves it around, so I'm just centering it with my fingers. You can pinch it to zoom in, pinch it out to zoom out, move it around with your finger to do it. So this is mission number 4, and then I've got another 3 missions beside it to the left that I do later on. Casa, if you're listening, that aeroplane you could hear, and the one you can probably hear now over the mic, is just me editing the footage. I'm at the end of the Gold Coast airport editing the footage. I like a nice place for my dog to run around on the lead, and me, I'm interested in airlines. Don't want to fly them, but just interested in them. For this particular job I was quite nervous at the start because I'd never flown something so big, and when I actually was testing the Maps Made Easy software, because you can actually plan a mission before you go there. You've just got to pick where your drone is for it to show the grid. What you think with a Dji Phantom 4, it will fly 30 minutes, 25 minutes, something like that. So I was setting my missions at about 22 minutes. When I actually went and flew my first mission, I would have only got through 2/3 of the mission before it would return, go use another battery, and off it would go again. And it actually did it okay, but I went and shot the maps or the mission, because for me, I tend to like to use one battery per mission. Reason is you can control the battery so you get the most out of each battery instead of it flying part of a mission and only using half. And one of the main reasons is so my customer has a manageable map at the end of the shoot. So instead of them having one big map of the whole area and their computer absolutely having a hissy fit trying to deal with such a big file, I broke it up into, originally it was 6 missions I thought, but I was able to manage to get 7 missions out of the area I had to fly, the 150 hectares, and 1 battery per mission. It's just what I do. I always err on the side of caution when I'm doing anything, even though it changed over and it took off and went back to where it started. It's all more about managing my batteries and managing just a little bit more safety. The less the drone has to do, I find the more better peace of mind I have. So from the grid that you could see, I actually didn't grid over the houses, but here you can see it got the edge of the road and the edge of the houses. So because it's a wide angle camera and I was at 100 meters, it took in a fairly big area. So the customer is able to also locate the photos not just by its flight path, but by where it finished and where it ended. One of the things I really like about Maps Made Easy is there is a lot of information. There's a whole lot of tools around the outside of the app that they have that you can adjust and you can control, and you can really know what's going on. Like I think this mission here was, it might pop up later, but from memory it was about 4.6 kilometers the actual drone flew, and each one of those sweeps was about 400-500 meters long, so it was quite a big, there we go, distance flown already. So it was bigger than, it must have been about 6 meters. It's 4.5 kilometers it's flown already, 4.6 kilometers it's flown already. But the furthest it got away from me was about 500 meters thereabouts, maybe 550 at the most. But it's weird, you're dodging in between the trees to keep an eye on the drone, even though this software really works well. So now it's on its home leg, and I got a little bit nervous here because there was an eagle floating around looking at for a feed or something like that, but luckily he was circling and circled away from where I was, not circled towards me. Most birds I'm not too worried about, but eagles, there's not a fearful bone in their body, I don't think, while they're in the sky. They'll just grab it and throw it to the ground. So yeah, you get a little bit nervous. But having said that, while the machine's up there, even though you don't have like the normal first person view from where the camera's pointing, because the camera's pointing down, you still do have control of the drone from the levers, so you can, you know, fly away from the eagle or the obstacle at any time, or break the mission, and it's just resetting the mission again. So here it is, it's just finished its last shot, comes up, map completed, you hit OK, it'll fly to the home point. And when I fly for photography, I fly fairly easy. With this app, if the sun's out, and I had both, I had the sun out and the drone flies really quickly, and it's like it's in a race to do it because there's good light. But if there was the odd cloud that came over when I took off and was setting the mission, and the drone would fly a lot slower. So even though when you're setting a mission it's got an estimate there, it's the weather changing can change how the drone flies. It's all about exposing for the right light, for the minimal blur, and that's all automatic in the app. It's not something you have to really worry about, it's just you're mindful of it. So the little surprise I had after I'd mapped this job, I mapped it on the Monday morning. The customer informed me the next day that 80 hectares of the site had gone up in smoke. There's a bushfire in there. So I went back the following Friday and mapped out the whole site again. So thank you for watching our video, we really appreciate it. Come join us on the journey, either through Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or our website. Without your generous support, we would not be able to produce these videos. So please go to our Patreon page and support us, or go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. Thank you.
Run free and dive into the sky. Hear the wind crying